Exactly. All right. Hello, the happiest sound, Rob, of a Wednesday, I think. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wino Wednesday. Start with a cheers straight away.
Cheers.
Thank you. First timers, my name's Gina. I'm the cheese whiz at Benissimo.
And Robbie G, cheesemonger extraordinaire. Do you accept that?
I accept that.
Professor McCheese.
I'll accept that. Really excited to have another Wednesday. This is Wino Wednesday number 4.
Is it number 4 already?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And what I've learned, Rob, there's lots of winos out there during this time. What did I see? I have a meme. It said liquor, noun, the glue holding this shit show together. And it kind of might be the case. Yeah.
It's so fitting.
It's very, very fitting.
You said 4 weeks, and it's like it all just kind of runs together, I have to say.
It really does. It really does. But it's really
helps.
great fun. So for those of you back another time, welcome back. For those of you first time, we're going to open the little chat line on YouTube, and I'll just say hello to everyone. If you have a YouTube account, you can send questions via YouTube chat. If you don't, you can still listen along and hear, but that's what it'll take to do some questions. We'll do some back and forth and go from there today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as we go sheepish.
We're going to go sheepish. We'll tell you a little bit more about Wino Wednesday, and also I don't want to forget to tell them what you did on the website after the suggestion. So if you have a suggestion, type it in, and we will do something about it. We will take action.
We will, because we want these to be good and get better and better every time. So, website, this is very exciting, we think. Now, on the events page where we show upcoming events, there's also a button that you can click that takes you to a list of all the virtuals we've had. And I think this was virtual number 17 in total during this whole time.
I hope we're getting better at this too, by the way.
We're trying every time. There's always some glitch. But hello, Jason. He says good evening. We were talking about you. I'll tell a story sometime. On the website, button, you can click and it shows all the virtuals and what cheeses we served every time.
Yeah.
Because I know it's hard to remember what wines we paired every time. So it gives you some specifics. Because I know it's impossible to remember. We can't even remember everything that we've done. So there's a button there. It clicks and links right back to the YouTube videos. And we're going to start labeling a picture like today's. If you go there and look, the cheese plate, it shows, the name of the cheese right next to the cheese. So again, had too much wine afterwards. You can go back and say, oh yeah, that was the Fiore Sardo.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make that a little bit better and easier for everyone.
Cool. It's almost like how we do on the receipts, and you can keep a history at any of the shops that you shop at. It's just a better way to keep a record. And sometimes when you see the names of the cheeses spelled out on the screen, it's helpful. I know we put them on the plates, on the plastic on the plates, but you probably throw those away unless you have a big stack of plastic lids in your house.
Okay, and then that's hoarding.
That would be and newspapers. But today is Wino Wednesday, number 4, as Gina says.
Sheepish.
And for every Wino Wednesday, we pick a wine, whether it's a varietal or a style or a region, and then we do 4 cheeses kind of based around that theme or paired with that wine. And so the wine today is...
The wine today, everybody. So this is so hysterical. It's called it's by Il Verro, and it's called Sheep. And no sheep milk was used in the production of this wine. But this one comes from Campania, Italy, and from a very, very unique and very elusive grape called the Gouda de pecora, which means...
it means sheep's tail or tail of the sheep.
Yeah, tail of the sheep. Yeah, because
Why?
Apparently the Italians were drinking too much wine and thought that the bundle of grapes of this variety looked like the tail of a sheep. So they thought it would be fun to name the wine Sheep based on the look of the bundle of grapes. So that's kind of interesting.
There's another region or another grape in the region that's called foxtail because it looks like a tail of a fox.
Crazy. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I think the Italians have just been having a little much fun, and
Well, they have so many varietals in Italy. I mean, there's like hundreds and hundreds of them, and so...
Right, because we know Sauvignon Blanc, Burgundy, those types of grapes, but there's really, so many we don't. Gouda de pecora, never, ever, ever heard of that.
But a quick note about the wine, and then we'll tell you what cheeses we're gonna go with, and also what our theme for the cheeses was. If it's not obvious already. But so as Gina said, the wine's from Il Verro, which is in northern Campania. And Campania is a region in southern Italy. It's where Naples is. It's where the Amalfi Coast is.
So where is it on the boot? Because everybody understands the boot.
It's the shin.
The shin of the
front
boot.
of the boot. But it's in the south, and so it's where Naples, the city of Naples, is where they invented, or at least they get credit for inventing pizza.
Yeah.
And so no coincidence that mozzarella di bufala is from there.
Yeah.
They make all of the great, like kind of simple Southern Italian classics like burrata and provolone, a lot of cooking cheeses. But to the north of Naples is an area called Caserta.
Mm-hmm.
And they're known, there's Mount Maggiore is right there.
I love that name.
Maggiore. And so the area has this volcanic soil, which is great for vineyards and wine grapes. And they have they're known for growing 4 grapes in the area. And I wrote them down because I had never heard of any of the 4
them,
before.
Yeah.
But Pellegrello Bianco, Pellegrello Nero, so white and black Pellegrello.
Okay. Pellegrellos.
Casavecchia.
Don't know that either.
Vecchia means aged, so maybe it's
Aged
an old vine or
Old
something
vine.
like that. And the 4th grape is called Coda di Pecora, and pecora we know means sheep.
Yeah.
And I learned that when I started working at Benissimo because I looked up what the word pecorino meant.
I mean that's exactly. And you're like, oh, makes
and
sense.
it just comes from the Italian word for sheep, and it means sheep's milk cheese from Italy.
Italy, great.
But
look at the color.
Beautiful. It's like
a very intense Chardonnay, right?
It must sit on the skins for a while.
Yeah.
But it's got, and I can see it even has a little texture, especially for a white wine or some body, I should say.
They call that legs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice legs.
She's got legs.
She's got legs. She knows what to do with them.
Knows how to use them.
Oh, sorry.
Get it straight. Let's get your reaction.
It almost has I like it. Fruit. I'm going to say fruit at the beginning. I'm going to be all technical. Stone fruit at the beginning. No, fruity at the beginning. Has a little bitter bite at the end, which I think will be nice. It's stronger than I expected. Probably in the color would kind of.
I was going to say I would
it's going to
expect
make
that by the color.
Yeah, be stronger. But a little bitterness. But I like it. It's got an intense flavor. I think this would also go good with spicier foods. Some of the tomato sauced foods, that kind of thing, would be really nice with this.
And they have a lot of peppers in southern Italy too, so they're kind of known for that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, very generally, when it comes to pairing wine, if we're whites, we're looking for bigger whites. Bigger whites tend to do better in terms of versatility, and I feel like lighter reds.
I think so too. Yeah, isn't that interesting to stand up with the cheese? I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, bigger white, lighter red. Oh, that's a good rule of thumb tip for cheeses. But I like it.
More fun facts on the wine, and if you guys have been patient and well behaved, you have not gotten into the cheese yet. If you have, that's totally fine. We're not going to judge anyone. Let's do an order here. I'm going to try to do the order of strength, and this guy here in the triangles is the Fiore Sardo.
Fiore Sardo. We got to start with the Italian to go with the Italian, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's what first, but that's the Fiore Sardo.
Mm-hmm.
There is a soft brie-looking cheese, and actually this is going to be the first one we're going to taste.
Yeah.
This is the Brebicet, so it's a double cream brie. This guy in the chunks is the Ewenique. Fun name.
Fun name.
And then this guy, this blue, is the Roquefort. We'll do that last. So as for the order, we'll do the Brebicet, the brie. Then we will do the Fiore Sardo. Third, we'll do the Ewenique. And fourth, the Roquefort.
Yep. Sounds really good to me.
That's what we're going to do. Do whatever you want. Okay, this is your tasting.
Yeah, this is exactly.
Only rules to have fun.
Eat up, drink up. I'm getting some comments on any tasting notes from the crew out there.
Yeah, did most people get the wine from our shops?
Yeah, most people got the wine, so it'd be interesting to hear. This has been really chilled, so I think it needs that. I think it would be good with an ice cube, personally.
Oh, yeah.
Are we allowed to do that? But I would, just to keep it really, really chilled. So Rob, all of these have one thing in common.
Yes.
And what would that be?
Well, we want to take a wild guess. They are all sheep's milk cheeses. And but what's really cool here is we have 4 very different style of cheese, but they are all sheep's milk. Sometimes I like to give the different ways of breaking down cheese. I think it's helpful there's a couple ways you can do it. One, you can just put it in a style. And if I were to, in the simplest form, give you a list of 6 styles, I would say Brie, Cheddar, Gouda, Alpine, Blue, and washed rind or stinky. Those would be not that
General.
I would say covers like 90% of cheeses. The other way you can categorize cheeses is you can say milk type, region, and texture, which is also usually goes along with age.
Sure.
So a softer cheese means it's younger, a harder cheese means it's older. So first of all, I'm going to do just the styles here really quickly. The Brebicet. Go ahead and dig into that Brebicet.
Yeah, and then make you one.
And that one is our Brie style.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think a lot of people don't know that you can make Bries out of any of the milks. This one happens to be the sheep, Brebicet. Brebi, that's another word. Anytime you see the word Brebi in cheeses, sheep. Just like pecorinos, sheep.
Brebi is French for sheep. Pecora is Italian for sheep.
Sheep. And isn't it capra also?
That's goat.
That's goat. Shit.
Watch your mouth.
Dang. Wait. Oveja. Sorry. I was oveja. Another for the sheep. So anytime you see that, sheep, gives good giveaways for sheep. And sheep, we don't see many sheep milk cheeses here in the U.S. Because we can tell you, sheep are temperamental little animals.
Yeah.
They don't give milk all the time. The milk they give is very little in quantity compared to what even a goat and, of course, a cow will give. But there are benefits to sheep milk.
Yeah. In fact, I actually brought up our health notes from the first Sunday sessions we did. And as Gina says, sheep don't give as much milk as the other animals. The only animal that gives less milk than sheep is water buffalo. And we already kind of touched on water buffalo because that's the other major cheese, or I should say milk type found in the region. But although they don't give a lot of milk, they are the top in giving protein. They are the number 1 in fat content, and they are number 1 in solid non-fat. So you get a lot of yield from their small amount of milk because their milk is so rich and full of nutrients and all of that good stuff. They are the second best if you have if you're lactose intolerant after goat's milk.
After goat, okay.
So there's a lot of benefits to sheep's milk, and I haven't been around a lot of sheep myself, but in talking to cheesemakers and farmers and asking questions all the time, but why don't we see more sheep's milk cheeses in the U.S.? And so it's always the same answer. They are just nasty son of a guns.
Yeah, exactly. They're hard. They're expensive to keep
They're
up.
stinky.
They're stinky. Temperamental. Cost a lot. Therefore, the cheese costs a lot. Remember, our great friend Shauna was making sheep milk cheeses, and she just said, "Oh my gosh!" Rolled her eyes. It's just unbelievable what it takes to do the sheep. However, Spain, huge with the sheep, right?
Yeah.
Their terroir, their climate, their and their history.
Their history, I think that's a major part of it, is that they've been doing it for so long. They've got the husbandry down to literally to a science, and that's actually a good thing to bring up. One of the cheeses that we don't have on our plate today is Manchego, and Manchego is
one of the famous sheeps.
Always sheep's milk. I always say it's kind of like Spain's version of a pecorino.
Yeah.
Because they are aged.
They're similar, right?
They come from even a specific breed called La Mancha sheep, which are from the region of La Mancha, and they have to be aged a minimum amount of time. I think it's 3 months, but that makes them harder cheeses.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the pecorino next, but really quickly, if I were to give you the styles of the 4 cheeses, just really quick. Brie style, the Fiore Sardo is a pecorino, aged cheese, so it's not in any of the major styles.
Yeah.
The third one, Ewenique, is a Gouda style. And the fourth one is a blue, the Roquefort.
Yeah.
But the other way we can break them down is we go sheep's milk, and that applies to all of them. And the regions are France, Italy, Holland / California. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
And the last one, Roquefort, is from France. And from Francais.
France.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, the Brebicet, what did you think? You bit into it and stuff. It's very mild and pleasant.
It's
really
very
creamy.
mild. That's why we like to do that one first. So it's the same cheesemaker as our most popular cheese, which is the fromage dauphinois.
Yeah.
And the cheesemaker is a family. It's a family-run dairy. They're called the Gouda family, and they are in the Rhone Alps, which is it's like Southern Alps. Savoie is a famous historic region in the Rhone Alps, and so it's part Alpine and then kind of the base of the Alps. And there's Alpine cheeses made there, but these guys focus on softer cheeses. And one of their techniques is something called ultrafiltration, and that is a process where they kind of separate all the good stuff, and they give it an extra creaminess.
Cream, yes.
And
it's velvet.
They're velvety.
Creamier than velvet. Cashmere.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I think it's even, cashmere.
I mean, I actually read I wrote down the definition they give for ultrafiltration in cheese, and they say it's a membrane separation process that selectively concentrates milk, protein, and fat. That's a nice way of saying they make it really, really creamy. Velvety, smooth. So this is considered a double cream, just like that fromage dauphinois. Mm-hmm. There's another one called Florette, which is basically a double cream goat's milk. Mm-hmm. But this one is extra creamy, extra velvety because it's made with sheep's milk.
Yeah, which naturally has that extra oil, which we learned, and fattiness to it.
Yeah.
Which gives it that extra richness for sure.
Yeah.
But double cream, everybody, you hear that term, has to be 60% buttercream with fat in it. At least 60%. Triple creams, at least 70%. So there's the little distinction if you ever hear those terms.
Triple creams go up to like 82% or something butter fat, and so they just taste like butter. It's like having a. They're so good.
Better than butter. That's what I like to call it. Better than butter, or creamy dreamy. That's what we say. We get lots of thumbs up for the Brebicet. Creamy dreamy, and what was the other word we said? Better than butter.
I forgot. Sometimes we forget. We get all excited about the other things on the plate.
Yeah, because we got a question about the cherries.
Yeah.
That goes with it from Ryan. Yeah, can we start there? Because these cherries, you guys, if I pronounce it right, Cerise Noire. So black cherries. These come from the Basque region. Of course, they're candied. They're like in syrup. But the reason we put cherries on here, you guys, is because to me, cherries and sheep milk go like this.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they are just the perfect pairing. So any sheep you ever get, try it with cherries. It's a total favorite. So yes, it would go with all of them. So I suggest trying with all. It's going to be so different with the Brebicet, which is so creamy, versus the next one we do the Fiore Sardo, which is more salty.
You made me think of something else. I'm sorry, because I always I want to throw in other cheeses that are sheep's milk. I talked about Manchego. Another classic sheep's milk cheese is Osso Errati, which is from the Basque region, and it is if you haven't had it, get a wedge of Osso Errati sometime and pair it with some kind of cherry jam or cherries. It's an incredible pairing.
What if you melted it on cherry pie? You know how you put cheddar on apple pie typically?
I think apple pie without cheese
is like a kiss without a squeeze. Nice.
She finishes my sentences.
I do. I'm sorry. I'm stopping all over because I've already had one glass of wine.
We can talk in all metaphors like last time.
Oh god, that's going to be the next sub-episode.
But Osso Errati, classic. It's protected by the French AOC system that protects all their wines and cheeses and other agricultural food products. But that's the cherry spread. Everyone's got grapes, there's figs, and then the meat.
Oh yes, can we tell about the meat?
Tell why we did it.
Why we did it. Okay, so the meat. Do we start with the why, or I'll tell you what it is, and then it'll come together. It is from Encinitas. It's a local.
Is it Angels?
Angels, yep. Angel Salumi. They're up in Encinitas. Pascal is the meat man, the charcuterier. I'm not sure what the correct term, but he makes all this delicious wild boar salumi up there. This wild boar happens to have truffle shavings in it. No, this one does not.
They make one with truffle shavings.
They make one with truffles. We wanted to get you the truffle one. We were out of the truffle one. This one is just called their rosette. So it's got kind of French flavors to it. But it's wild boar salumi, and we had to put wild boar on here because Il Verro, the winery, that means wild boar. So we thought that'd be a fun tie-in to give you the boar salumi.
I mentioned at the beginning that the winery is located in a region called Caserta, which is in northern Campania, and the region is known to have lots of wild boar running around. At least they used to. There's a lot of wild boar hunting that goes on in the area, and that name El Verro means male wild boar. There's another region which is also in the south called Abruzzo.
Oh yeah.
And that name actually derives from land of the boars, and it's the same reason. So there must be a lot of wild boar running around in southern Italy. You know what? It made me think of porcini mushrooms. Speaking of mushrooms, too. So the name porcini for mushrooms.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like pig?
Pork. For the longest time, I was.
Well, you know why?
No, you tell me.
I'll tell you why. in northern Italy, they would go out wild boar hunting, and in wild boar season, it was the same time that the porcini mushrooms would sprout out.
So they named the porcinis after the...
So porcini means little pig. So they would go looking for the big wild boar, but while they were out, they would find they would call them the little pigs, meaning the mushrooms. But that's where the name comes from.
Equally delicious.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool. I never knew that.
And and you made me think of that when you said truffle in wild boar salumi, and that's... I guarantee you that somebody makes some kind of cured meat with porcini mushrooms in that region, because that is an expression of their place. I mean, they always use some kind of local ingredient tie-in when they're making products.
Yeah. Oh, that makes great sense. I'm down with that.
How could you not be?
How could we not? Okay.
Also got rosemary. We always have the rosemary. We're like 100% on the rosemary.
We're on the rosemary. And what we neglect to say every time is try to nibble the rosemary with each of the cheeses. You know, the little frond with that. It's delicious. The other day I accidentally got one on a little leftover piece of cheese. It was so good. So we do it for decoration and aromatics, but it's really for taste and flavor.
You should be a sheep yourself, and you just
graze.
know, like goats and sheep. I think
that counts as my greens for the night, right? If I eat them.
Yeah, that's
very
your greens.
bad joke.
And your wine is your fruit.
Yeah, I know that already.
So the what else can we say about Brebicet other than double cream brie style? And we say brie style because it's not from the region of brie. I said where it's from, which is the Rhone Alps. The Rhone Alps is known for a couple of their classics that are made pretty close to this cheese. Are Reblicet, which is a soft, stinky cheese. It's actually it's illegal for us to have Reblicet because they only make it raw milk, and it's under 60 days, so we're not allowed to import it or sell it, at least not not commercially. Wink wink. And then the other cheese from the region is called Beaufort, and I know we've had Comté before, which is another very similar one, but Beaufort is a huge wheel. They can be up to 180 pounds. It's an Alpine cheese, so it's a harder cow's milk cheese from the region.
Awesome. Very good. Well, everyone's loving the Brebicet. And eat the rind, everybody. Question that sometimes comes up. Do I eat the rind? This rind's beautiful. It's very young. Sometimes they get kind of brownish, yellowish on the rind, and that's completely okay, but that means it's getting older. It's getting riper. It's going to be more intense when you see that. And then also, the runnier this cheese is, the older it is, and the more intense it will be, the riper it is. With the soft cheeses, hi, buddy. Oh, this hummingbird. You're going to see hummingbirds maybe fly through here. They want the cheese too. The older it is, the runnier it is, the more intense the flavor typically is. So, good rule of thumb.
So I think I remembered why I started bringing up that it's from an Alpine region too. Most of the cheese making, if not all of the cheese making in that part of France, in that part of Europe, is done in a cooperative manner, which means that the cheesemaker will bring milk in from a bunch of different farmers. In this case, they bring in milk from about 100 different farmers, and each farmer has about an average of about 50 cows. And so they get tons of milk every day. They make a good amount of cheese, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a fun one. Any questions on that? We can do those, or should we move on to the Fiore?
We should move on. The thumbs up all around with Brebicet.
Okay.
Everyone agrees. I think it made the wine a little more minerally, just saying, but it did go good with the white, so it was awesome. Question came up, Kay Evans, of sheep. Do we ever get New Zealand and Southern Hemisphere? That would be nice if we could get more. We used to get a couple cheeses. Whitestone was the creamery in New Zealand, and we just have not had access to those anymore. It's so expensive to get those cheeses from there to here. I think that's been a big part of it. But we do right now have Roaring 40s Blue. That's our most famous Australian cheese. And we try to keep that in stock as often as we can. But if we can start sourcing more from the Southern Hemisphere, we could look at a Southern Hemisphere adventure with a wine from there too, like a nice Shiraz or something would be super fun. So we'll keep an eye out. But right now, very limited on that selection.
Yeah, I missed there's another one called Seal Bay from
Seal Bay
Australia.
Triple Cream, remember that?
You can't get those
anymore. Can't get it anymore. Nope. And Blue Orchid was another blue that was so good. And yeah, it's just difficult. We have Meredith marinated feta.
That's true.
They called it feta, but now they've changed it. Marinated cheese. Sheep milk, again, it's sheep and goat blend, but it's cheese marinated in olive oil.
And here's another tidbit about sheep in feta. The reason that they don't call it feta anymore is because the European Union now protects feta as a name for cheese.
So they did change it.
And the major rules for feta is that one, it has to come from Greece.
Okay.
And that Meredith stuff was not from Greece. It's from
a little bit
Australia.
Opposite end of the world. Yeah.
Then the second thing with feta that can take on that name legally is that it must be a minimum 70% sheep's milk. 70% sheep's milk, and the remainder must be goat's milk. So it could be 90% sheep and 10% goat, or like 75-25.
Okay, but it has to be that at least 70.
Sheep's milk.
Okay,
Yep.
good to know. Very good tip. All right, we got a tip, Rob, FYI, from Mrs. Angry Butter. Said the Brebicet with the
Angry Butter?
I love that name.
I love that.
It's very good. Brebicet with the dried pear. And did we mention the dried pear? It's awesome. I love dried pear, but the Brebicet supposedly goes really good. Want me to make you one?
Yes, I can do it.
Okay, he's going to do it while I eat one. I'm going to try this too. And I think this would be good with, can I have a rosemary frond?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to try that too. Sheep. But the sheep, that climate, we were in Greece and saw so many of the sheep. That brushy, dry climate, I think they thrive there, like you see in those plains of Spain where the sheep roam, right? And don't make a joke about plains in Spain. You were gonna.
Where the buffalo roam.
Where the buffalo roam. Okay, is it good with the?
It is
pear?
very good. Save some of your dried pear for the blue cheese at the end too. Sorry. Well, there's one more left. We can split it.
Oh, that's really good.
That is very good, and it's so fun. With the accoutrements, we put them out there just really for you to play around. We're not looking at pairing anything specifically on this. It's really just to play around, have fun, try everything with everything. There's also Marcona almonds, and there's chocolate on there as well.
We'll get to the chocolate for dessert.
Next is the Fiore Sardo. Fiore Sardo.
The flower of...
So flower of Sardinia is what the name means. So a fun name. It's also sometimes called Pecorino Sardo. And
from Sardinia.
Got dried pear down the wrong pipe. Flower of Sardinia is a better name. It's more fun than beautiful. Pecorino Sardo. And it is a pecorino. It's an aged sheep's milk cheese, very much in the vein of a lot of the Italian style of aged, dry, salty, very oily as it sits out. This one is, I'm gonna just say around 12 months. It's probably about a year, maybe a little bit more even than a year. But it when it comes to pecorinos, there are young pecorinos, Pecorino Fresca. And you don't see as many of those in the States. We have it once every blue moon. More often, the pecorinos are aged for longer amounts of time, 6 months and up, I would say, or at least a few months and up. So they're firmer cheeses, and every region has their pecorino that is their regional specialty. I mean, in Tuscany, you have Pecorino Toscano. That's a very well-known snacker.
Pecorino Romano is famous.
There's Pecorino Romano, but that's not so much a snacker because it's so salty.
So salty. That's the cooking cheese. Question again. This was the Fiore Sardo, everyone. The triangle, translucent. Smell it. It smells amazing. Very rich and... Oh, Pecorino Ginepro. Tell him about that one.
Pecorino Ginepro is from Lazio, so that's also that's where Rome is. So that's where Pecorino Romano, of course, is from Rome. That's what it means. That's where it originated. It's now made in factories. A lot of it's made in factories, and a lot of it's actually made in Sardinia, where this cheese is from. So it's not made anywhere. A lot of it's not made anywhere near Rome anymore. But one of the cheeses from Lazio, the home region of Pecorino Romano, is Pecorino Ginepro, and it is it's covered with balsamic and juniper, and so it has a very kind of like a ginny flavor on the rind.
Yes, exactly. And the black because of the balsamic. It's a gorgeous pecorino. I love eating that one because of the look, and it's kind of chalky. Anyway, it's all.
But it's like that. It's that dry, kind of salty pecorino, really traditional pecorino thing going on. What else could? So there's Pecorino Siciliano is the one from Sicily. Sardinia is the second biggest island in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And second biggest island in the Mediterranean. And I thought, I felt like the name probably came from sardines, because I was
are sardines big in Sardinia? Yeah.
Oh, we're doing a show.
Hi, Mom. That's my mom.
Sorry, Gert just got here. She wants.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're figuring out what to do with the dog right now. But Sardinia, I thought the name came from little sardines, swimming around, and I figured, they must fish a lot of sardine out of the waters there. But it turns out the name comes from the Chardins, and that it's a people that came from Asia Minor about 3,000 years ago. There. Yeah, and because of where it is geopolitically in southern Italy in general, it's one of those places that's been conquered and reconquered and conquered again and again and again over the years.
Well, like Sicily.
Right? Exactly like Sicily.
The history of Sicily, same, yeah.
So, the Greeks were there. All the tribes throughout history were there.
Yeah.
And what else can I say about Sardinia? Do we have some comments or questions?
Nope, just little questions about the pecorino. I'm just telling them a little bit about that it's a good snacking version. And Sardinia. It's funny that the pecorinos tend to name themselves after their place. Romano, Toscano, Sardo. Kind of interesting.
Pecorino Toscano. I mean, if you're ever lucky enough to drive around the rolling hills in Tuscany, like let's just say, for example, you go from like Florence to Siena, to the two best known cities in the region of Florence. In the region of Tuscany. You go through these kind of rolling hills, and then there's another town there called Chianti, and of course that's the wine is named. But if you ever see sheep grazing on the side of a hill, the milk they produce is likely going to get turned into a pecorino toscano. And when you go to a local restaurant and you order the pecorino, they don't need to tell you it's pecorino toscano. It's just their local cheese, and you assume it's the local.
It's like when you order a wine, you're going to get the wine from right. It's just wine. They have red wine or white wine. They have cheese. It's going to be the cheese from there. Your beer, it's from there.
Exactly, and I can. The French are like this too, especially with their cheese. They're very territorial. Theirs is the best. When I remember being in Normandy, and they have like these tourist trap restaurants that are just beyond the beaches famous from World War II, D-Day, and we sat down for a meal, and the four cheeses on the menu were the four Normandy AOC.
Of course they
cheeses.
were. Yeah, well, yeah.
And I was just like,
support the locals.
Yeah, Camembert is their soft cheese. I was like, can I get a brie? You're just like, what? Get out!
Out!
Don't talk about that.
People are liking this combination together pairing, Rob. The Fiore with this. This was completely different. It changed the wine. The cheese changed the wine on both of these, if you ask me.
I feel like the first one is that's more what the books would tell you to do, the double cream, the milder, softer cheese with this kind of wine. But I feel like the home run can happen with something like this Fiore Sardo.
Yeah, it might be the home run.
It's more dynamic, there's more going on, there's more complexity.
Yeah. No, it's very fun to compare the two.
And complete opposite types of pairing.
Yeah.
Total opposite textures, opposite flavors.
Yeah. And it's so funny. A lot of people weren't getting the same bitterness and flavors I did. But right before we started, I had done a espresso and hadn't eaten for a while. So I wonder if that changed my taste buds a little bit when we started.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Exactly. So who knows? So awesome. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Next.
Okay, the next one we want to do is the Gouda, because we definitely want to save the blue for last.
Can we say hunka Gouda love?
Hunka burnin' Ewenique.
Of Ewenique love. So Ewenique, say how you spell it.
Yeah.
It's not Unique, right?
Well, how do you spell Ewenique?
Wait. Now how do? Because I only spell it. Wait, you spell it with a U.
Unique is with a U. Yeah.
Okay. Well, not this one.
This one is EWE.
EWE. Unique.
So this is it works in English. This is from a cheesemaker in Paso Robles.
Paso Robles.
Paso Robles. If there's any Paso Robles locals, I don't want to get in trouble for that one either. Paso Robles. This is a cheesemaker that we featured a bunch of times. I'm just coming to realize. Reggie Jones, and he makes a bunch of different cheeses, and they're all great. He makes everything from cheddars to blues to even soft wash-drying goat cheeses. But this one is from Central Coast Creamery, and this is his sheep's milk Gouda. And so they're a California company, but the cheese itself is made in Holland. It's his recipe, but the cheese is made in Holland, and the milk comes from Holland, and then I guess it just gets shipped here.
It's delicious.
He gives it a fun name, Ewenique.
It's very unique.
There's another really, really good sheep's milk Gouda called Euphoria, another fun play on words. Mm-hmm. But Goudas, they come from Holland in the Netherlands, and they tend to be sweeter in flavor, and that has to do with the make process. And the age on this one is, I'm not sure, but I'm going to say 6 months and up. It's got the little crystals in it, and I want to have a taste myself.
Yeah, you got to have a taste. So the Goudas, this has the classic Gouda flavor to me, Rob, which is sweet. I get just that hint of candy. And to me, the true Goudas, and those, especially these aged ones, have that hint of butterscotch, caramel, toffee. This does too. Mm-hmm.
That is more like, to me, that's more crowd pleasing than the Fiore. Like the Fiore is, I feel like this is usually more of a crowd favorite and more approachable, I think is the word I'm looking for. The Ewenique.
Oh, I love it. What do you think? It's more subtle than Euphoria. It's less sweet, but I like this. It's more cheesy, milky.
Yeah, it has more. It's more savory. It's sort of in between a pecorino and some of the other Goudas. Goudas can be any type of milk. Most of them are cow's milk, just because most of our cheeses are cow's milk. I mean, cows produce the most milk, and so I would say 70% of cheeses that we get, cheeses in our case, would you say 70% are cow's milk? Maybe not that many, maybe 60%.
Yeah, I would say 60.
But the majority,
followed by goat.
Yeah, and we have some great goat Goudas as well. So if you like that kind of sweeter, firmer type of cheese, Goudas are something that you should explore, and you should definitely try the goat Goudas. Try other sheep's milk Goudas. Some of the really, really crunchy old cheeses that we have in the shop. Like when people come in and they say, "Look, I want the crunchiest, oldest thing you got," we go to the Goudas. We're looking for the 4 and 5 year old cow's milk.
Those are the
Goudas.
Crunchiest by far, like rock candy.
And
this is so good. They're good together.
I can see that.
This mellows out the wine to me. This is so interesting because I think they're both sweet, kind of equally sweet. So Brebicet made the wine minerally for me. The Fiore Sardo made the wine fruity for me. This one, they're like equally sweet. The fruit, I just taste that sweet, which is great, complimentary. Everybody's loving the Ewenique for sure.
Do you like the Ewenique pairing better than the Fiore Sardo pairing?
No, I think I like Fiore Sardo personally. I love the Fiore Sardo better. It's a little more contrasting. Both of them pop. Where these, they blend together. So maybe I'm in the mood for contrasting today.
It's all right. You're not in trouble or anything. I'm not interrogating you.
Did I get it? Do I get B- for Gina?
You wrap your knuckles.
See, she doesn't know anything. Caramel. Oh, caramely. Yeah,
that's a good
the
one.
Flavors of caramel, nuts too.
It is very nutty.
Buttery, buttered nuts. I mean, just And that's the beauty of cheese. It just tastes so many flavors in one bite. Right?
I think nutty is really good for that one. I get that a lot with the Euphoria too. Like I tend to, there are kind of the words that I really tend to use a lot for certain styles, and I always say nutty for Alpines, but the Goudas really have that too.
They do, and I forget that too. Like,
I tend to think more sweet, rock candy, caramel.
How about toffee nuts? You know how you get the caramel,
Toffee
the
nut.
nuts toffied, when they coat the candied nuts.
Yeah.
That's what Goudas are. Because they have that element of candy. Period. End of story.
And sometimes like toasted nuts too. What's interesting, like the aged Goudas, they're not smoked. We do have smoked Goudas. There's smoked Goudas out there. Usually smoked Goudas are a bit younger. And the reason is because the younger cheese is it's more porous and it's easier for that smoke to sort of penetrate from the rind. And so they don't age them for a long time, and so they're a little bit softer and they take on more of the smoke in the aging process. And also usually smoked Goudas don't have the wax rind, and for obvious reasons, because it wouldn't penetrate if it had the rind. But one of the characteristics of Gouda is that they're wrapped and aged in wax. And they come from Holland. Those are two of the defining characteristics of Gouda.
Gouda. This is an interesting question, Rob, on Goudas and just the milks in general. Question from Michelle: of any goat cheeses that are less goaty? And I'm with you, Michelle. If it gets really intense goat flavor, it's kind of too much for me because it's super gamey. It's like having a pheasant, or something that's just more gamey, right? But the goat Goudas are a good way to go. We have honeybee goat. Yeah. We had ballerina goat. Those are less goaty. You still get a teeny bit of that. It's goat. That does not go away with almost any of the goats. What do you think is the mildest goats that you could try?
Well, I think the goat Gouda. So, I will. I hate to say it. I trick people sometimes into having goat cheese. Sometimes people come in and right off the bat they're like, "I hate goat cheese." Yeah. And I'm like, really? Let's try this. Just try this. Yeah. I'll tell them what it is. Midnight Moon. Gina mentioned honeybee goat Gouda. There are some giveaways. The color they are like bone white. They're very white because the goat milk doesn't change color. And you get that goatiness to me on the finish. They have that goaty tang on the finish, but because they're Goudas, they also give you that sweetness. So it's sort of I don't know if it hides it or if it just makes it more palatable.
More palatable. It would be like I think you could take a softer goat, the ones that are crumbly that we know of, the little logs that just crumble. Yeah. And those are kind of lemony and bright, still goaty, but you can not douse it, but just drizzle a teeny bit of honey, again, to add something sweet, and then it takes away some of that goatness.
Well, and just like we have 4 different styles and they're all sheep's milk, we could do 4 different styles. We can do these same, except for pecorino. we can do 4 different styles of goat's milk too. And I mean, we can do an aged goat's milk cheese in that Italian style, like a Fiore Sardo. In fact, there's one from Sardinia called Pantaleo, which is it's made the same way except with goat's milk. So it's just a really aged goat cheese.
Sure. We got a question on meltability, everybody, for the cheeses. Is the Ewenique meltable, George asked. And yes, I do it all the time. I'll take a little hunk and put it on a cracker in the microwave. This is so dumb, for like 10 seconds just to get it melted. And it does melt. It's not as smooth as like a fondue, one of those cheeses. It's not going to be buttery smooth like that, but it's delicious. So if you don't mind that the texture's can be a little separated. Yeah. It does melt, yes.
Yeah, I will grate them a lot of times before I.
Well, not just the big lump on the.
Well, like what you're talking about, putting like one little piece, and then I end up doing 10 more after.
Oh,
that.
I do too. Well, so, might as well just eat the quarter pound at first and melt the whole thing.
I mean, you try.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Doesn't always work.
Yeah. Too good. I love it.
Ewenique.
I love it. I'm gonna do it with the fig.
Good stuff.
Fig is like the classic. The figs tend to get left out, but the fig and cheese is like the ancient classic combination, right? The first pairing, I swear. Yeah, in history.
Fig is just it goes with everything.
It's so good for you.
Fig just straight up figs or fig jam or whatever you want. Fig Newtons, whatever you want to do with it.
The Ewenique with the fig tastes like a fig Newton.
Really?
Because it's sweet. Like it's even more sweet. Makes it like a candy cookie.
I think to finish my thought on the aged Goudas, so that you have the really aged ones, like the 3, 4, 5 year ones. Every shop will have a handful of them. They kind of get like toasty or almost cooked notes, and but they're not smoked. A lot of times when people taste them, they think that it's smoked or that it's toasty, and I think part of it has to do with the way Goudas are made. they actually cook the curd, or they give it a warm water bath.
Yeah.
And so it gives it that caramelized sensation. So that's how we experience Goudas.
Yeah.
And but such amazing cheeses, and of course named for a town in Holland called Gouda.
And in fact, I'm going to post tonight on our Instagram a little video of the Gouda, the market place.
Oh, yeah.
You've been to that.
Uh-huh.
You've seen that happening where they carry the Gouda wheels and people order, and it's a little bit for show now.
It's totally for show.
Yeah. But it's kind of to see how much Gouda there is out there. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to, there's 2 markets, and one of them is called Alkmaar, and it's just north of Amsterdam.
The most famous, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's more famous there. The only reason, then there's another one in the town of Gouda, which is between Rotterdam and Amsterdam. So it's more like in the middle of the province of Holland. And that one's, the market is sort of, it's not as big a market, but it's so well known because of the name. Because the name of the cheese comes from that, and the cheeses come from all over the countryside, but they just happen to be sold at that market there, and they weigh them, they make a big old show. Some they divvy them out between like the ones that get exported, the ones that stay in Holland. Sometimes they'll even
do we get the dregs, like the the bad ones? And they keep the good ones.
They do the
the tapping.
They tap them, and they listen. Like, you know how when you get your physical and they tap your knee, it's like one of those things. They tap it, and they can tell like the density of the cheese, whether it's a high quality or not. And the ones that don't sound right, they do this with Parmigiano Reggiano and Comté and other. They grade them, and the lesser graded ones, usually the lower quality ones, the ones that get a smaller grade, they'll chop them up or shred them up, and they'll go to like groceries, and they'll be distributed to like mostly grocery stores.
Like it's an apple here, if it's not beautiful or it's not quite the right shape, then it gets turned into applesauce or something, right? So same thing. With cheese, nothing goes to waste.
Yeah.
But the best ones get to the full wheel into the cheese shops.
I remember seeing, like, the first time I went to a Parmigiano Reggiano aging facility, and they had a whole section of cheeses, and the whole rind was scraped up, and I was like, what is going on over here? They didn't want it to get released as a real certified Parmigiano Reggiano. So they were like, oh, we have to make sure it doesn't lower the standard of everything else.
They take it serious. Mm-hmm.
They do.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're moving on to dessert.
Ooh, ready for the next one?
I'm ready. And I made you a cherry thing there, right? But I will start talking this. You tell us about Roquefort. Did you go to Roquefort?
No, I was going to go this year, remember?
Next year you will go.
I didn't go anywhere this year except my house.
We're not talking about that. We're going to talk about next year that you're going next year.
No negative talk here.
No negative talk allowed.
We were supposed to go to southern France in April on another cheese trip, and we were going to be in Bordeaux, which is like less than a 2-hour drive to Roquefort,
which is a true place.
Yeah. So so southern France, Bordeaux is a famous wine region, and it's in another region called Aquitaine. And if you drive east, and still staying in the south, and you're just north of the Basque region, you get to a place called Midi-Pyrenees, and that's the region. And the Midi means south. Pyrenees, of course, refers to the mountains there. And there's a village called Roquefort, and famous cheese from there is cheddar. No, it's Roquefort, and so it's always 100% sheep's milk.
Has to be, right?
Has to be. There's a certain breed of sheep that it comes from.
Lucan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
Luquan, or Luquan, I don't know how to pronounce it either. But it's a very, even more than, it's even richer than other sheep's milks.
Yeah.
And the cheese has to be, or I should say the sheep have to graze in the region. The milk and the cheese has to age in the caves that are underneath this town called Roquefort.
Yeah.
And it's been made there for thousands of years. In fact, a lot of the other French classic blue cheeses are just based on Roquefort.
Sure. Fourme d'Ambert, Bleu d'Auvergne, which are also from the south. Difference is those cheeses are made with cow's milk. But there is
there's about 300 bacteria collectively that live and kind of, I guess, fly around the caves of Roquefort. And
we're talking good bacteria.
This is good stuff. Yeah, this is good mold. And it's now called Penicillium roqueforti, and it's let's go back a couple thousand years.
Okay. Transport ourselves.
They would age sheep's milk cheeses in these caves because caves are good for aging cheese because it's consistent humidity, temperature, airflow, and so that they would age cheese in these places. And they also made a bread down there. They made a rye bread, and they would let the bread rest in those caves as well. And so the blue mold actually has been traced back to the same rye bread from this region. And so somewhere along the line, we don't know if it was on purpose or
is this myth,
an accident,
fact, or fiction?
We say the term happy accident all the time in cheese. Things just happen and then you go with it, and that's part of innovation. But so somebody either they put, so the bread got moldy, and somebody decided to put that blue mold in with the curd, or maybe it got in on accident and some brave person ate it. They didn't die. It was delicious. And so for many years, for centuries, they would just let rye bread mold. They would let it get old.
Crazy.
Then they would crumble it down and then throw it in with the curd when they made the sheep's milk cheese.
And again, who decides that that's a good idea?
Yeah.
But a great idea it was indeed.
They didn't know the science behind it, but they knew that if they just did this, it made this delicious cheese.
It encourages that growth.
Yeah.
And that's what gives it the blue flavor.
Yeah, and back then it was only available at certain times, certain times of the year. Now it's available year round because they can just keep it in refrigerators, which makes it it kind of halts the aging process. So it's anything called Roquefort, if it's a real Roquefort, came from this little village, and 90% of the blue cheeses to this day are inoculated with penicillin roqueforti. Yeah. It's named for that town.
So Rob, you talked about that rye bread. I went to a trade show in Tours, France. It's a biannual French trade show, anyway, of cheese. And they had, Rob, a kind of like the mother loaf of this rye bread at one of the stations, that does a Roquefort. This was the gnarliest looking thing I ever saw. You know how in kombucha you've got just the mother?
Yeah.
Okay, this was the mothership of the rye. I'll post this picture, you guys. I'm going to do some editing, and I'll post this in here and share it with people. When you see that, you're like, no, that is completely wrong. And there it was. This is what is creating this beautiful mold that creates this blue, and it's a piece of bread.
It's amazing. I feel like that should be in a museum, like the Rosetta Stone or like the
Magna
meteor
Carta
or
that
something.
fell off of the the stone.
That's
from
amazing.
The moon. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's incredible. But that's nowadays. It's just so. It's not quite as romantic of a story when Reggie Jones at Central Coast Creamery goes online and orders his penicillin roqueforti off some website
and pours it in out of a packet. It's just not. It isn't as romantic and as cool.
But it tastes great. But it all comes from the same place.
But that kind of old school. Old school's good school. Yeah, I haven't tasted this with the wine yet. We have one comment. Kevin thinks that makes the wine less fruity. Yeah, too. Roquefort can be intense. Is it intense to you today?
I love it right now.
Yeah?
It has like a fruity, metallic mineral.
Metallic is a great description of Roquefort.
It has like a tinny thing going on.
Tinny's good too.
Love it.
Okay, I'm gonna try it with the wine. Need the wine to cut the strength. Yes, George. Because Roquefort is strong. It's in the stronger scale. We need to do a little scale of blues.
Yeah.
From Cambozola Black, very mild, up to Roquefort Cabrales. Forget it. That'll be in. We'll do the blues. We're going to do the blues at one point.
Yeah, we can do all blues on a plate too. What do we think?
Yeah, it does take away the fruitiness of the wine, and actually, me personally, it's my least favorite of the pairings because it kind of took away from the wine and the cheese. It dulled the brightness and that mineral of the Roquefort, and it kind of did nothing for the wine. So, it tamed the blue.
I will say
but it didn't enhance the wine. Let's put it that way.
I
don't think.
I feel like blue cheese is the trickiest to pair. You can kind of go wrong when we try to pair blue cheese with regular still wine. They always say go sweeter with the stinky and the blues.
And the stinky and the blues. So it's got to be to offset that pungency, that intensity, I guess.
I believe
so
it's a contrasting.
The sweet wine. Because blue, typically, Sauterne, Port, Sherry.
Or the sweet Rieslings, like those types of things.
Yes.
Roquefort is it's a little bit softer in texture, and it's got of course the rich sheepy creaminess. But blue cheeses really they completely vary from milder. They can have less blue in the and that comes from the way it's made.
Yeah.
It's
Can I tell you what I think my kind of rule of thumb if you're just looking at blues? The more blue you see, the stronger it will be. Right? Don't you agree sometimes, like for the most part?
Yeah, you can look at it, and by its appearance you can tell a lot about the cheese just by looking at it. And that goes for all cheeses, because you can tell if a cheese is riper. You can feel them too to find that out. But if cheese is already open, if the wheel has been open, it's a softer cheese. You can look at it and you can kind of tell how ripe it is if you don't want to touch it.
Exactly. But you can tell a lot for sure. Mrs. Angry Butter says, "Eat this. The Roquefort with the cherry."
Ooh.
Try it, everyone.
If
Roquefort with
Angry
the cherry.
Butter says to do it, I'm doing
I'm not.
it. I don't
I'm
even
gonna mess with her.
She'll throw a pat of butter on me.
Try Roquefort with the cherry, everyone. And George is jumping ahead to the chocolate, which we're going to get there. But that's going to be good with the Roquefort too, I think.
Can't believe it.
What do we think the Roquefort with the cherry?
Fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Because again, that's super sweet. Something syrupy, something sweet with the blue, which is why honey is often paired with the blue.
And that's what all those dessert wines have for them, is they're syrupy and sweet and very strong as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to dessert, sorry.
So there's some other blue. There's other sheep's milk blues that are kind of similar. Like there's one called Basajo blue.
Basajo. What about Bleu de Basque?
Bleu de Basque is, again, you go to certain regions, and I think Gina was touching on this. Like there's certain places where sheep or goats or cows are more happy, and it has to do with the terrain.
Sure.
The Basque region it gives you more sheep's milk cheeses and goat's milk. But there's one called Bleu de Basque, which is really funky. To me, Roquefort has the blue veins are very dark, and they're kind of bigger, more cavernous. They're fat, and so that tells you that it's going to be a stronger cheese. Gorgonzola Dolce, for example, is milder because it's a couple of little streaks. There's very little blue.
It's like a wisp of blue.
Even the blue is like a light greenish. It's not even really blue. So it's really mild. Cambozola is a milder one because it's like a mix of brie and blue.
Point Reyes, I think, is kind of a milder side of blues.
And Point Reyes, along with Bay Blue, which is also from the same cheesemaker, are harder blue cheeses.
Yeah.
So texture-wise, they're very different.
And you can have goat blues. You can have it with all the milks again.
Yeah. There's even mixed milk blues. I love, my favorite mixed milk blue is the You Calf to Be Kidding Me from
Wisconsin.
Hooks Farm in Wisconsin.
Exactly. You calf to be kidding me. You calf to be kidding me. That's a real name for a cheese.
Ultimate, like the ultimate cheese.
That's ultimate in American marketing of cheese.
Yep.
But I love it. Yeah.
Imagine trying to sell that in France. And like,
no, they would roll their eyes. It's a pipi. So I got to tell everybody about the chocolate because I know everybody's diving in, and you're gonna have to try it with the blue, Rob, while I'm talking. Okay, this chocolate, everybody, is also it's a San Diego creation. It's from a company called Ducrane's, and it's a local chocolatier. She's Japanese American, and she just loves chocolate, studied in France, all the techniques. So this is a dark chocolate with strawberry together. So, I mean, who doesn't love the combination together? And, okay, Rob, what do you think of that chocolate? Did you eat it on its own, and you tried it just with the blue?
I had it with the blue.
And how did it do with the blue?
Delicious. I had to wait a couple bites for the strawberry to come out kind of on the finish.
It's probably good to have the strawberry element. Yeah.
It was definitely better with the strawberry element with the blue.
Okay.
Again, going back to that the sweet thing.
The sweet. Because a lot of people put blue with chocolate as desserts. In fact, Rogue River Creamery made little truffles of blue cheese and chocolate. So blue cheese and chocolate truffles. It's a good combination, but even enhanced with the strawberry. This chocolate, now eat a piece on its own. I think it's really rich and delicious, but I'm going to tell you something that's probably going to blow your mind because I didn't know it until after I ate it, and then I'm like, really? This is awesome.
Okay.
That chocolate is vegan.
Oh, wow. Wait, vegan is not supposed to be good?
I know, that's what I think.
That's good.
Vegan's not supposed
What's
to be
going
good.
on here?
But that's really, really good.
That is good.
It's soy-based instead of dairy-based in the chocolate. I'm completely floored and flabbergasted, but it's
Good
beautiful.
job. Wow.
Ducrane's, both. No, I think all three shops. I don't think Liberty Station, but North Park, Mission Hills, and Del Mar all have these Ducrane's chocolates. If you want a treat of chocolate, something that's local, support a local gal, Ducrane's. And this is the strawberry chocolate. There's one matcha tea. There's a random flavors, but they're beautiful and delicious.
Really good.
So I'm not going to go vegan after this because I still like that salami a lot. But it's really yummy together. Did everybody try it with the blue? I'm afraid. Ooh.
There's a lot going on with the...
I like it better with the strawberry portion. It's like Neapolitan. Somebody needs to make a Neapolitan chocolate bar. Is there a Neapolitan chocolate bar? Vanilla, right? You could have kind of a white chocolate, dark chocolate, and strawberry. I'm going to talk to her.
Does Neapolitan come from southern Italy, like the term?
Or is it France? I'm not
know.
sure. But all I know is there was a Simpson episode.
Well, does it mean Naples? Does it mean you're from Naples, the kingdom of Naples? Maybe somebody can look. Or does it mean like it's Napoleon Bonaparte? No, I think it might mean you're from the kingdom of Naples.
Neapolitan?
I
Why do they have
look
strawberry?
it up,
Why is it three layers?
I don't know, but I can tell you why the margarita pie pizza is the colors that it is. It's because it's the Italian flag. But I bet you there's some kind of story behind it.
Could be. We're gonna
We'll
delve
leave that
into
up to
that.
you guys.
Yes. But the Simpsons, he opens the freezer and it's all the Neapolitan ice cream boxes. Remember where you'd get ice cream in a box? And he opens them all up and all of the chocolate is eaten out. Only thing that's left is the strawberry. And she's like, why do you keep, Marge, why do you keep eating this? He goes, because I love Neapolitan. That's pretty good. Yeah. But I would eat just the strawberry personally. So.
Well, I know when I used to hear the ice cream truck coming down my street, I would run out there. And my favorite one was the strawberry shortcake. Do you remember the strawberry shortcake ice cream? Oh, it was so good. First it was the missiles, and then I grew into the strawberry shortcake.
Okay.
If anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm not sure either. But Mary has jumped on, and you were right, Naples.
It is Naples, yeah.
Yay, Mary. So you know what? Maybe Mary should get that.
Yes, Mary, you just won something you didn't even know you were going to win.
Was it a contest? But, Rob, pull the little sheath off, because this little cleaver is sharp as can be. Put the sheath back.
Be careful with this, Mary.
But Mary, and next time you're ever in the shop, you just let us know you were a winner of the cleaver on this virtual tasting. You're going to love it. It's awesome. It's an awesome little knife. But the Neapolitan from Naples. Okay,
you know what I was thinking about, and I think I read that somewhere because I one time looked up the name of mozzarella, the most famous cheese down there, and the word mozzarella is from a Neapolitan dialect, and it comes from the Neapolitan mozza, M-O-Z-Z-A, like the famous restaurant, and that means to cut or to clip, and it has to do with when they form the balls of mozzarella, they clip off the curd, and then they put them in this water, basically, like room temperature water, and then the balls firm up, and that little seam that you see on water-packed mozzarellas, that comes from clipping it, and it's like this gesture that they do with their finger that actually is kind of hard.
Remember how hard we tried it, and it was so hard to make it happen. Yeah.
And then the little mozzarellas are called Bocconcini.
Yeah, the little baby balls.
And that just means little mouthful. So it's fun to actually look at the names of what they mean or where the names come from, because it tells you a lot. Yeah,
you're fascinated with that history, the linguistics and the history of words, and they all tie together, right? They do. They do.
It always does.
Yeah. They were talking about, remember the ice cream trucks?
Yes.
Like, remember them coming around? That song, I can't sing it right now, but that was so good.
It's like the Entertainer.
It is. It's just, and you knew, as kids, you were just like honed in. It's like a dog whistle when the ice cream truck would come.
Okay. I give my dad a shout out, like the last 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah, Dad.
If he's watching, I took piano when I was a kid, and the only song I hated it, and I remember I learned the Entertainer, that song.
You did?
But I didn't learn it. I memorized.
that one.
I just memorized like the first like 10 notes.
To this day,
that's all I know. That's exactly it.
Exactly. I got over and over. I'm sure he hears it. One last question, Rob, because we're getting out of hand, but it's good. So does the curd make the burrata? So talk about the making of burrata.
Oh, yeah.
Versus mozzarella.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So the story of burrata, I mentioned it as being a cheese from southern Italy.
Yeah.
It is made in Campania, but the origin story for burrata is actually from a different region on the other side in the south called Apulia. It's also the region's also called Puglia. But it was historically made with cow's milk because buffalo milk was in Campania. But in Puglia, they also made fresh cheeses. And one of the fresh cheeses that they made in Puglia was mozzarella. When you make mozzarella by that process that we were just describing, you pull the curd. It gets kind of pliant, stretchy. You pull it and you shape it into its various forms. In doing that, you end up with a lot of leftover bits of what look like string cheese.
Yeah.
And nothing goes to waste. That's a common theme in cheese making. So they would take all these leftover random bits, they would throw it all in a bucket, right? At the end of the day, they would have all these string cheese bits left in a bucket, and they poured whole cream, like 30% whole cream, into that bucket, mixed it together, and they called that mixture stracciatella. So when you go to gelato shops, you'll see things called a flavor called stracciatella. I don't know why they call the gelato flavor stracciatella.
Yeah, there's no curd in there.
But what stracciatella means is torn shreds, because it looked like torn shreds.
Yeah.
So they would take that mix of stracciatella, and then they would go back to their bigger curd of mozzarella. They would stretch it open.
So cool.
They filled it with this stracciatella mixture. Then they clipped it off with that mozza action, and then they would put it aside, and they called their cheese burrata, and that means buttery.
Burrata, butter.
Exactly. And that was their thing, and it was, of course, it's fresh cheese. That means it doesn't travel well, and it was invented probably in the early 20th century. Early 1900s.
Yeah, really.
And it stayed local forever.
Yes.
And it wasn't until either the late 80s or early 90s, and a couple of guys brought it to California.
Yeah.
To Los Angeles.
It's crazy, right?
And then when Gina opened in 2004, she brought it to San Diego.
Yeah. And now burrata is like the famous, that is the quintessential fresh cheese.
Yeah.
Right? Who does not eat a whole ball by themselves?
Everybody knows burrata now.
Yes.
There are burrata bars. Like, you can go to places and there's literally burrata bars.
And that's better than, it's like the yogurt shop where you get the tub of yogurt and then you can put all the toppings on it. What about this, everybody? A ball of burrata, and put whatever topping you want on it. That's why we have the burrata bowl.
We have a burrata bowl.
With the tomatoes on it, which is to die for. But any topping. You can put fig jam. You can put this cherry on there. That would be delish.
Oh, yeah. You can go savory. You can go sweet. You can keep it very simple. I mean, you can't go
Olive
wrong.
oil.
I always say with those fresh cheeses, the cuisine in Italy is, you've got the north is very different from central, which is like the Tuscan stuff, and then in the south it's very different again. It's all about fresh ingredients.
Simplicity.
Yes, very, very simple, and simpler the better. I mean, mozzarella, burrata, ricotta is another one from the south. And usually if they make one, they make all of those cheeses, because burrata is really a byproduct, and ricotta, which means to recook,
that's right,
is also a byproduct, and what they do is recook the whey from the mozzarella process, and so nothing goes to waste. And then if there's anything left after they've recooked the whey to make ricotta, they feed it to their pigs, which become prosciutto or whatever. It's
all good. Yeah, there's no waste.
Nothing goes to waste.
0.0 waste.
0.0.
Yeah. Oh my God, Rob, that was so fun. Everybody, thanks for the participation and the questions and comments.
Really good questions.
It was really good questions. It's always just a pleasure. We just have a blast. Hope you're having a blast too. We're going to continue trying to have a blast together.
Yeah.
Next one, Rob, is another Sunday session on the 2nd of August.
Yes.
And it's what it takes is the theme. Like what it takes to make some of these cheeses.
Yeah.
To get it from a teeny farm way up in the Swiss Alps to this cheese plate we're going to talk about what it takes.
A little behind the scenes. We're going to take the journey with us.
Exactly. We'll share some of those stories. In the meantime, happy drinking, happy eating. If there's any other questions, always feel free to reach out. You can email us anytime. Rob at Venissimo, Gina at Venissimo. We're happy that you're with us. And have a great evening. Hope to see you soon. Ciao. Auf Wiedersehen. Au revoir.
Bye.
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 Bye.